fact, one of the fellas came down from the mountain when we had a chat about the experience afterwards. One of them came down and he said that this weekend and this experience has proven to me that I need to say yes to more things in my life. That I need to say yes to more challenges, yes to adventure, yes to the things that I can see are going to help me grow and improve. Now, to have a realization like that through an experience, that's a life-changing idea right there.
Hey mate, I'm Coach Mitch and welcome to the Unbreakable Man podcast. It's my goal to help you achieve excellent results in the area of your health and physical fitness, your career or business, your relationships, and in your own personal passions. This is going to be your one-stop shop if you are the kind of man who wants to achieve his fullest potential in life. And the only way to do that is by becoming unbreakable.
Hello, brother, and welcome to today's episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. Now, in today's episode, I wanted to talk to you guys about the concept of leaning into fear. Now, as you can imagine, as a men's coach, I speak to many guys who are looking to improve themselves and their lives in some way. And in all of my experience of having these conversations with fellas about the things that aren't working in their lives and what they want to change, the common denominator in why a lot of these men never make that move, never make that investment in themselves, never actually commit to making the change that they keep telling themselves they want to make, is because of fear. It's because of fear of failure, fear of things not working out, fear of them not being good enough, fear of hardship and challenge, whatever it might be. But I see that as one of the biggest barriers standing in the way of so many men today. And I watch so many men go through shitty situations in their lives, feel unhappy and even depressed about those situations a lot of the time, but really struggle to take control of what they can control in the situation to change it. And I have to watch guys make the same mistakes and the same poor decisions over and over again out of fear of the unknown of what's going to happen if they try to make a change. Now, leaning into fear is something that we do all the time in the Unbreakable Man group. And that's because I think if we practice this, if we train ourselves to do things that we are afraid of, then when we inevitably face a scary decision in our personal lives, whether it's in our relationships, in our careers, in our businesses, in even just personally, we already have experience of pushing ourselves through those fearful situations and making decisions where we don't necessarily know what the outcome's going to be, and we don't necessarily know whether it's going to be positive or negative in the short term. You know, that's a big point of Unbreakable Man. It's about how do we become unbreakable? How do we stop these scary situations in our lives? How do we stop those scary situations from stopping us? How do we become unbreakable so that our resolve to fix the problem cannot be broken, so that our spirit and our courage cannot be broken? And it comes from the training that we do on a consistent basis with the weekly group training, the half-day events that we do, and the big weekend retreats and stuff that we do, where it's about leaning into the fear, the scary, challenging situation. Now, I am just coming off the back of one of those big weekend events, and we took 8 men out to the Scenic Rim, which is about an hour and a half west of the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. And we went to go climb the tallest mountain in South East Queensland, which is called Mount Barney. It's about 1,300 meters of elevation. And we were really had our hearts set on climbing this mountain via the most challenging and technical route, which is called Logan's Ridge. And this is when I say it's a climb, it really is a climb. Like, you are physically climbing with your hands on the rock. There are moments in this climb where it's not difficult not to fall and to stay safe, but if you fall, it's not going to be pretty, right? You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your own abilities. You have to have trained yourself and prepared yourself to face this challenging and potentially scary situation. So we did this event out in the scenic rim and to climb Mount Barney. And on a personal note, just as an example of what will happen to you if you are the kind of man who is willing and brave enough to go through the process of consistently leaning into fear in his life, this is going to be the result of that process. For myself, climbing up Logan's Ridge over the last weekend, don't get me wrong, there were definitely some points where I was like, that's a bit sketchy, and I'm not going to go this way. However, to be honest, I found it pretty easy. Like, it was fun, and it was definitely challenging. There was definitely, like, I had to use some of my climbing skills, and I had to be very safe and very careful at certain points. However, at no point was I ever doubting my ability to take on some of the more challenging climbs that I took on and to eventually get to the top safely. Now, if you'd asked me to do something like this 5 years ago, there would have been several points throughout that climb where I would have been seriously doubting my own ability, where I would have been seriously questioning my own safety and my own skill level to get me through this process. Because I remember doing things of the same vein 5 or so years ago on a much, much smaller level and really struggling mentally to push myself through it. But only from having those experiences can I now be at the point today where something that scares the absolute shit out of most men in the general population is something that I feel quite comfortable doing. And that's not because there's anything special about me, not because I was born with something that yourself or any other man is not also capable of and born with. It's just through experience. It's just through exposure to challenge. It's because of the training that myself and my team have done up until this point. Now, there were fellas, of the 8 of us, there's a few fellas where it was a real mental challenge for them this weekend. And that's absolutely fucking awesome. Like, for myself, I came down feeling good because I had a good time. And don't get me wrong, I'm really excited to do it again. But nothing about that experience really changed me. Nothing about that is going to have the same lasting impression on me that some of the other scary things I've done will have. Because it wasn't that much out, it wasn't really outside of my comfort zone. But for the fellas that came down this weekend, who this challenge was right on their limit of what they felt they were capable of and what they were comfortable with, those fellas stand to gain so much from an experience like this. In fact, one of the fellas came down from the mountain when we had a chat about the experience afterwards. One of them came down and he said that this weekend and this experience has proven to me that I need to say yes to more things in my life. That I need to say yes to more challenges, yes to adventure, yes to the things that I can see are going to help me grow and improve. Now, to have a realization like that through an experience, that's a life-changing idea right there. If you're able to internalize something like that, and you become the kind of person who consistently says yes to challenges, yes to adventure, yes to uncertainty, then how much different is your life going to be? You know, when you think about the things in your life right now that scare the crap out of you, maybe it's having a tough conversation with your partner. Maybe it's starting your own business. Maybe it's quitting the job you have right now to go and find the one that you really want. Maybe it's upskilling yourself, or maybe even learning a skill in a totally new industry. Or maybe it's, for you, maybe it's really finally fucking committing to getting yourself in great physical shape. Whatever it might be, when you think about something that seems overwhelming to you right now, imagine if you were the kind of person who'd had an experience that allowed you to be able to make that decision with confidence. To be able to set aside the challenges that how you feel about the challenges that you can see if you make this commitment, and simply focus purely on how good it's going to feel once you achieve the outcome of having a great, harmonious relationship, or having your own business that's really successful, or finding the career path that you really want, or getting in great physical shape. When that becomes the only thing that matters, and you don't care what it takes to get there anymore, then there's no longer anything stopping you, because you have finally stepped out of your own way, because your fear is not fucking holding you back anymore. And that comes with practice. That comes from the idea of leaning into those scary things. Because it doesn't just help you in that one scenario. Climbing this mountain, for the fellas who really struggled this weekend, climbing this mountain doesn't just help them be more comfortable climbing mountains. It just helps them be better at exposing themselves to discomfort and continuing to do the work they need to do anyway. I've done a few episodes talking about some of the characteristics of men that are truly great, of guys that are at the top of their game, you know, the fellas that you and I might look up to and want to emulate. And that's one of those key factors in men that are truly great, in truly great fathers, in truly great leaders, truly great role models, is that these men are able to do the things that they know they must do when they need to be done, regardless of how they feel about it. Now, so many men today have so many excuses, and some of those excuses are really valid. You know, men have gone through some horrific moments in their life, you know, really messy, horrible divorces where they don't get to see their kids, or you know, they lose the house and all this other stuff, or they get made redundant and can't find work, or, you know, they've been beaten or abused when they were kids or something like that. It's horrible stuff, and it absolutely makes you, you know, perhaps distrustful, and also even asking yourself, you know, am I good enough? Doubting your own abilities. But the unfortunate truth is, regardless of your situation, regardless of what you've been through, regardless of how unfair things may be, if you don't do the work, nothing changes. It does not matter how unfair it is. If you do not take the actions, then nobody on this planet can help you change your life in the way that you need to. And some of those actions are going to scare the crap out of you. But that's also exactly what it takes to become the best man that you can be, to become the best father that you can be, the best partner, the best business person, the best employee, the best employer. All the things that are going to make other people want to have you in their life involve you becoming the kind of person that does the work required regardless of how they feel about it. Now, when we do our challenges and we talk about leaning into fear, all that's doing is training you and preparing you to become the kind of guy that can do just that. Now, if you're watching this right now, there's a certain percentage of you guys that are still not going to change. And going back to what I said before, nobody on this planet can help you. If you are not willing to push yourself to do the scary shit, to invest in yourself without being fully aware of exactly what that investment's going to lead to getting yourself out of your comfort zone, to trying things without knowing what the outcome is going to be. If you never get yourself to the point where you're doing that, then your life is always going to be the same as it is right now. You're always going to miss the opportunities that you keep missing. You're always going to complain about the things that aren't working out for you. You're going to blame others for exactly why those things haven't worked out. And that's up to you. That is absolutely your decision. It's your life. No one can change it for you. And it's not anyone's responsibility to do so either. So there's a certain percentage of you watching this right now that are in that camp. And that's just how it is. And there's nothing that anyone can do for you. But I really hope that you, my friend, are not in that group. I really hope that you, my friend, are in all honesty, the minority of men that are willing to actually take on that challenge, that are willing to lean into the fear bit by bit. No, don't go out there and climb a mountain if you've never ever climbed anything before. Fair enough. Take it bit by bit. Figure out what that next step's going to be. But I really genuinely hope that you are the kind of guy who's willing to do that. Because I want to talk to men that are willing to do that. I want to help men that are willing to do that, because those are the men that can actually be helped. So, as a takeaway point to wrap this up, guys, next time you see something that you want to do, or something that just feels right to you, something that looks like it might be the solution to something you're missing in your life, but taking the step to actually start it is scary and uncertain. I want you to recognize that feeling for what it truly is. And that is a signal from your mind to yourself that what you are thinking of engaging in is something that is important to you. Something that's actually going to make a difference in the long run. That fear and that uncertainty just shows that this is something that actually matters. And if you can spend as much of your life doing things that actually matter in the grand scheme, then you will have a great life. So lean into that fear. Use that fear as a guiding light for yourself and your actions. If you do that consistently, you will become a different person. You'll become a different father, a different leader. You'll be able to attract the kind of people that you want in your life. You'll be able to attract the opportunities that you're looking for, because people will see that you are that kind of person. The person who's willing to do whatever it takes to create the outcome that they're looking for themselves and the people in their life that they care about. So I want you to take that away with you, lads. If you have anything you'd like to add, comment down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say on this. I'd love to, if you have any questions about how to approach scary situations and how to address some of that fear within you that's holding you back, comment down below. I'd love to see those questions, and I'll do my very best to answer those questions for you. Last but not least, if you are a man who is fully committed to improving himself physically and mentally, wants to change his life, wants to improve his physical health, his mental health, his confidence, his relationships, his career or business, doesn't know where to start, one of the best things that you could do is come and join the Unbreakable Man team. You can come and join us on the weekly training sessions, or you can come and join us for one of our epic weekend events, which is where we deep dive into some of these things that are holding you back in life, so that we can work out how we're going to overcome them and how we're going to make sure that we are consistently doing the work required to be the kind of guy that we're looking to be. All right, with that said, mate, hope you enjoyed the episode. Can't wait to speak to you again on the next one. Cheers.
Hey, mate, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Unbreakable Man podcast. If you did, it would be absolutely fantastic if you could leave us a 5-star review, because that's going to help us get our message in front of more men who need to hear it. Now, if you have some feedback for me, I'd love to hear that too. Comment down below. And if you just need some mini doses of Unbreakable Man motivation throughout your week, then you can follow us across all social platforms. On Facebook, it's Unbreakable Man Challenge. On Instagram, it's Unbreakable Man_challenge. And on TikTok and YouTube, it's just Unbreakable Man. Your support would be absolutely invaluable. Now, last but not least, do not forget, men aren't born, they're built.